a drink of the gods, a terrible punishment, or an item that's been lost to time, humans have always been searching for the secret to living forever. Maybe today on Bumblebee we'll finally figure it out. I am your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and we are diving right into the top 10 real ancient secrets that granted immortality. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Ambrosia. Said to be the drink of the Greek gods with a flavor of honey, this beverage was delivered to the Olympians by doves, and this is what gave them their immortality. This is an important substance in mythology that is seen many times. Sometimes in the stories, people were given the privilege of drinking it, like in the story of Heracles, but sometimes others would try to steal it, and like we learned before, do not anger the gods or else you'll find yourselves punished like Tantalus, forever trapped, hungry and thirsty, standing in a pool of water he can't drink, under fruit he can't eat. Some mortals in the stories were only teased with the possibility of immortality, just to be turned away at the last second, like the hero Tydeus. He was going to be made immortal by Athena the goddess, but then she caught him eating human brains, so she decided, probably better to not. Mythology is weird. I didn't make this up. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Holy Grail. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video so far. The Holy Grail is one of the most well-known pieces of Christian mythology. It is said to be the cup or bowl that Jesus drank out of during the Last Supper. Of course, people were trying to get their hands on this relic, and to make it even more revered, it is said to be the vessel in which Joseph caught his blood while he was on the cross. That's heavy stuff, and it's the reason why King Arthur and his knights traveled in search of the Holy Grail. Here's the catch with this thing though. Only the purest souls were able to grasp it, and not many of us can admit that we're the purest of souls. This is why when only one man was able to touch it, it is said that he gained immortality through it. If that was me, I'd tell him to prove it. I mean, real easy to say it when you're the only one who can touch it. Just saying, proof or it didn't happen. Legend says the guy's still eating Mr. Noodles out of it to this day. In our number 8 spot today, we have golden apples. We hear a lot about the golden apples in Greek mythology, but in Norse mythology, they're actually quite an important and often discussed item. The golden apples actually need to be continually eaten by the Norse gods in order to maintain their immortality. The apples also supplied the gods with their strengths as well as their forever youth. The orchard that contained these apples was looked over by the goddess of spring, Idun. The apples are extremely important to the mythology, and in one story, when the goddess gets tricked into giving herself and the apples over to Loki, the gods immediately grew old and weak, but luckily she was returned and everyone's youth was restored. This led people to search for these golden apples at one point, but even if you were to find one of these magic apples, you'd need a constant supply in order to maintain your immortality, and that might be a little bit more difficult than you think. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Mushroom of Immortality. As early as 475 BC, there are written records that reference the Mushroom of Immortality, which was a key ingredient in the elixir of life. The Lingzi, which is translated to mean supernatural mushroom, is the oldest known mushroom to be used medicinally, which is super cool. According to the Book of Han, people who were masters of esoterica, alchemists, and magicians known as the Fang Shi knew the secret locations on a mountain where these immortality mushrooms grew, but no one else did. This resulted in several Qin and Han emperors to send large expeditions to search for the mushrooms of immortality, but to no avail. While these mushrooms are still used in traditional Chinese medicine today, it doesn't seem as though anyone has been able to actually achieve immortality from them, but maybe we just don't have the correct recipe anymore. In our number 6 spot today, we have Nicholas Flamel. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you've definitely heard this name before, but did you know that the character is actually based off of a real person? Nicholas Flamel lived from 1330 to 1418, and he was a successful French bookseller. What's curious, however, is that about 200 years after his death, there began to be texts that surfaced that were attributed to him. According to these texts, Nicholas had learned secrets of alchemy from Jewish alchemists while traveling in Spain, and it is said that during this time that he acquired the original copy of the Book of Abramelin the Mage. It was then claimed that Nicholas was the one who held the elixir of life as well as the secrets of transmutation, and it was also claimed that he was probably still alive somewhere. Wild stories aside, what is in that book? Clearly people believe that there must be some immortality secrets hidden inside. In our number 5 spot today, we have anger a Greek god. Many people generally look on immortality as a good thing or as a positive. In fact, it's well documented throughout history of people trying to achieve immortality. But in the times of ancient Greece, it was sometimes given as a punishment. In Greek mythology, there are plenty of times where a god would get mad at a mortal, and the punishment would grant them everlasting life, but that included a punishment that would would literally never end. Like, the perfect example is the mortal king, Sisyphus. He was always trying to be a smart aleck, and he would often attempt to barter with the gods rather than simply bow down to them, and at that point all the gods were super fed up with him. In the end, they eventually cursed him to live forever in Hades, where he has to continuously roll a boulder up a hill. Once at the top, the boulder rolls back down, and the process repeats. Legend has it that he is still pushing the boulder up that hill to this day. In our number 4 spot today, we have Cinnabar. Cinnabar is the common ore of mercury, and it has a long history in ancient cultures, but of course, there's one big issue with it. It causes mercury poisoning. This is exactly why it's super strange that this is the central ingredient to the Taoist elixir of immortality. The elixir, which was called Huandon, or the reverted elixir, it was believed that certain materials such as cinnabar or gold, when ingested, would instill some of their qualities into the body and rid the body of any imperfections that caused mortality. Of course, we now know that unfortunately, most of the precious items in this elixir were highly poisonous, and they ended up doing the exact opposite of what they were intended to do. Many people died, including Tang Dynasty emperors, and it is said that this is part of what caused the shift from trying to find outside substances to create immortality to finding a way to harness one's natural energy in order to gain immortality. In our number 3 spot today, we have Amrita. There is a collection of Vedic hymns called the Rig Veda, and according to these Hindu hymns, Amrita, which is sometimes called Soma, is a drink that can give someone immortality. Rig Veda 8:48-3 says, quote, "We have drunk Soma and become immortal. We have attained the light the gods discovered. Now what may foemen's malice do to harm us? What, O immortal, mortal man's deception?" While Amrita and its consumption by humans has been well documented throughout history, the knowledge of where to get it has been lost. It is believed to have been some sort of plant or fungus, and the instructions for the preparation of it involved things like pounding parts of the plant into paste or to release its juices. It would sometimes be filtered through wool and then mixed with cow's milk before being consumed. Amrita was often said to have been found in mountainous regions, but despite there being such detailed accounts of its use, the true identity of it has been lost, and now sometimes ritual prayers will include an apology to the gods for the lack of Amrita. In our number 2 spot today, we have eating a mermaid. This is definitely on the top of the list when it comes to the strange. In Japanese mythology, there is a mermaid creature known as a ninyo, which is described as a cross between a carp and a monkey. These creatures lived in the sea, and they usually brought bad luck and stormy weather with them, and if one washed up on shore, it was thought to be an omen of war. This leaves me wondering why anyone would ever want to be near one, but as legend has it, a girl known as the 800 Nun, one day her father accidentally brought her the meat of this creature, and she ate it and was cursed with immortality. It was called a curse because she was horribly sad for many years after having to watch many husbands and children of hers pass away, which, yeah, that would be an absolutely terrible part of immortality. After being horribly sad for many years, she decided to devote her life to Buddha and become a nun, and in the end, because of her holiness, she was allowed to pass away at the age of 800. I guess maybe immortality isn't as attractive as some of us once thought. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Philosopher's Stone. Turns out this thing wasn't just a Harry Potter relic, it was based on a real thing people believed could grant the power of immortality. It has long been believed that the Philosopher's Stone could be made out of ordinary substances that exist everywhere, but we just don't have the information needed in order to recognize them. This is why in the first Harry Potter movie, Voldemort is searching for the stone. He's trying to find a way to live again, and he thinks the stone is the key. It is thought that this may have been created by a man named Nicholas Flamel. Yes, we just talked about him. Yes, he is also a character in Harry Potter, and he was also a real person. Guys, that's it. That's it. That's the end of the list. I've been your host today, Levi Kozlowski. I'll see you again soon. Bye.